Bigfoot Society would like to thank the following sponsors for helping make the podcast possible. The Singular Fortean Society has combined open and honest paranormal investigation and journalism since 2016. Visit the Society at Singular Fortean for all the latest weird news and more. Come with us and investigate the impossible. Lauren Smith is the hostess for Nightcaller's Bigfoot Radio, which has been on air for over a decade and has completed over 300 shows. Lauren brings with her a unique viewpoint given that she is not only the daughter of one of the veteran female Bigfoot researchers in the South, but she has been conducting field research since she was a preteen some 20 years ago. Nightcallers is a Bigfoot world favorite and, along with interviewing researchers and witnesses, often features interviews with guests from the documentary, film, and entertainment industry. Lauren also does a vidcast segment called Nightcallers, which features real encounters sent in by viewers. You can find all of this and more at nightcallersproductions.com. Welcome to the Bigfoot Society podcast. Join me, your host, Jeremiah Byron, as I uncover the stories behind the people who make the wonderfully weird and unexplained their life's work. We love chatting about cryptids and creatures that defy logic, but that won't stop us from having people show up that you might not expect. A little bit of This American Life and a little bit of In Search Of is what you're about to experience, so sit back, put your headphones on, put your phone in your pocket, and relax with your favorite beverage as I uncover the stories behind your favorite entertainers, researchers, and people you've never heard of in this episode of the Bigfoot Society podcast. Today's episode, I get to talk to my new friend Portia Haynes, committee member of the Van Meter Visitor Festival. This episode is all about my favorite cryptid and my favorite cryptid festival. Of course, you already know who that is, but you're really going to enjoy this episode. I'm sure of it. So sit on back and enjoy my chat with Portia Haynes. Well, thanks for coming back to the Bigfoot Society podcast. This week I have the privilege of chatting with Portia Haynes, a committee member of the Van Meter Visitor Festival. Thanks for coming on, Portia.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Jeremiah.
Yeah, this is it's a special interview for a few reasons. Number one, this is the first time I've done a phone interview, so thanks for making me figure that out with my my handy dandy interview gadget, which thank you to the gentleman who was able to purchase that for the podcast. But yeah, it'll open up a lot of doors. But if the audio sounds a little weird, and I think it's going to be okay, but if the audio sounds weird, that's why. But Portia, of course, is been with the festival for the from the very beginning, and I've seen her before because I've been to the festival a few times. We'll get this, right off the bat. So, Portia, I'll let you know. I think I already told you this. So I live in West Des Moines, which is about 20, 50. It's close. Yeah, it's 15, 20 minutes away from Van Meter. I love Van Meter, and so I used to. Listeners, I always talk about the Van Meter Visitor and the festival. I'm going to let you know right off the bat, this whole episode is just, that's all it's about. So get ready. But I used to work with some buddies at Apple, and we heard about this festival, and we just got into it. And I mean, I've been there a good 4 or 5 times, I want to say. I've been there when it's rained cats and dogs, and we all had to get underneath the the little the thing when... what was it, like a little, I don't know. We had a little
kind of a tent.
Umbrella, tent thing up, and Kevin was trying to do a presentation, and it was still fun. And then, oh man, it's been some good times over the years. But Portia, can you? So you read the Van Meter Visitor book by Chad and Kevin and those guys, and it's a great book, and it goes through, and almost at the end, I want to say there's a part where it's man, the people of Van Meter should do a festival or something in the future. And then you go to here and you guys have done it. So I would love to know the history of how this festival came together. Can you give us the history behind it?
Yes. Well, the history isn't a huge story.
Okay.
Chad Lewis, one of the 3 authors, there is Chad Lewis, Noah Voss and Kevin Nelson.
Mm-hmm.
And Chad Lewis talked to Jolena, our town librarian, not library. She was very helpful to him, and she worked at the library. And when they were looking for papers and pictures and all kinds of documents, whatever could be found, Jolena helped them a great deal finding the papers and the documents and the pictures. Some things they found elsewhere, what could be located, Jolena either located or asked other people who she knew would have stuff to locate for them. And so they became good friends with Jolena as they were writing this book. And after they were done writing the book, I do believe it was after, Chad Lewis talked to Jolena and said he thought there should be a festival. And Jolena liked the idea too. And so there started a festival. When it started, it was smaller than it is now. It's not a humongous festival,
Right,
but it's growing. And oh yeah, it's fun. It's fun. It's a
so
fun
much
festival.
fun.
I mean,
Oh yeah.
you know, you aren't being price gouged at every turn, and it's fun. And so that is how the Van Meter Visitor Festival started. The first year, I was in the hospital with back surgery when they had the festival.
Oh my goodness. Okay. All right.
And so I missed it. Needless to say, they wouldn't let me get out of my hospital bed and come out here for it. The second year was 2014, and that's when I really got involved and enjoyed every minute of it. We had a huge turnout that year, and because it was a brand new thing to this people here in town. And it was a lot of fun. And at that time, we had the fire department that cooked a meal and served it in the evening. Now we have vendors.
Oh, yeah.
So that there can be food all day long, which is a much better idea. And this year, we're going to have the Easton's food truck. So that is good food.
Yeah.
Everyone I've talked to loves Easton's.
Nice.
But that is how the festival came to be. And the most horrible year of our festival, as you know, was it oh my gosh, it was horrible.
What year was that again?
Was it 2018 that it rained on us?
Oh man, that was rough.
Cats and dogs, and
really
the temperature was 40 degrees, and it was windy.
Yeah.
We had people show up with their blankets wrapped around them, with their quilts wrapped around them, with sleeping bags that they had unzipped wrapped around them.
Totally.
People who thought it would be as warm as it always had been and didn't even have any coats, and that's why they were wrapped up in that stuff. It was quite the festival, and we survived it somehow.
Oh, yeah, and it's
and
like...
Oh,
go ahead. Yeah.
No, you go ahead.
I mean, it's like, it's one of those memories where it's like, if you made it through that year, I don't think it's going to get, well, like Iowa weather, you know how that is, but...
Yeah, it can get worse. We shouldn't say that.
Yeah, fingers crossed. So when you're saying that first year was a huge turnout, so in...
the second year was 2014.
Okay. How many people was that in that year?
Oh, my gosh. I cannot remember, and I don't have any papers in front of me that tell.
Okay.
But our turnout that year had to be somewhere around 500 or 600 people.
Oh, wow, really? I was not there that year. Yeah.
It was huge. Yeah, we had quite the festival, and it was fun. It was fun. It was because no one had seen Chad Lewis's slides and the movie part, and heard his talk before, and it was quite the novelty you know. And even though people lived here in town, this was never something that was talked about. And even though it was written up in the history book of Van Meter, this was still something that was never talked about.
Okay.
I read about it in the 1990s when I moved to Van Meter, because I went to the library one day and read a bunch of the history of Van Meter, and I thought, I bet they're all wrong. I can't imagine anything, you know, what little was in the history book. I can't imagine anything that got up, you know, and had a light on a horn and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I thought, this can't really be although I have to tell you, I do not doubt for 10 seconds that Bigfoot or anything else exists. So that wasn't why. I just
might have to talk about that later too.
Thing I've ever heard.
So when you first read this story in the library back in the 90s, weird to say that, but so what were your thoughts? Were you like, maybe someone, you know, maybe they saw something, or were you actually thinking that could be a cryptid?
Yeah, because I didn't doubt that they saw something that was unexplainable. But I thought, no, why in the world would they say all this? They probably saw something like Bigfoot, and that's all it was.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Don't ask me why I compared it all to Bigfoot, but that's...
You know, it all comes back to Bigfoot, really. Even in Iowa, you know, you got your northeast part of Iowa. It gets pretty squatchy. I don't know if you've ever seen that Finding Bigfoot episode. It gets pretty wild up there in Backbone State Park. Oh, yeah, you should check it out. It's a good episode.
I'll have to watch that.
Oh, it's good. Like, you won't be expecting how good it is.
I will enjoy it thoroughly.
So... what has been, I'll say this. So the thing about going to the festival for a few years is I've noticed each year you keep up in the ante a little bit. And so let's say...
we try.
And you do a good job because, it was like me, my wife, Andrew was there. And I mean, there were people there, like we met Jay Pachochin there from Wisconsin.
Oh, yes.
It's such a nice guy.
That was 2019, the last year we got to have it. Oh, he's a wonderful, wonderful man.
And then you have Linda Godfrey there too, which that was like a surprise. I was
wonderful
like, wow.
lady.
Yeah. Of course, you know, Beast of Bray Road is what she's best known for, and so many other books as well. And then of course, you know, Nash Hoover, such a nice guy, and I've interviewed him a few times.
Nash.
Oh yeah.
Nash and his friend, I believe his name is Patrick. My mind has suddenly gone blank. Anyway, showed up in 2014. We saw them walking up, and they were carrying a camera, and they were recording things. And we got to talking to them, and we really, really liked them. And here they came again the next year, and that sealed it for sure. And Nash is good friends of all of us here in town on the committee, and or I shouldn't say all of us, with most of us on the committee, and wonderful guy. Yep. And his girlfriend.
Yeah.
A sweetie too.
And it's crazy to watch him now. I mean, this last year, he went traveling all over the U.S. to do his Chasing Legends thing, and that's becoming a pretty big deal. I mean, it's a good stuff.
And I'm really happy about it. Happy about it.
But I mean,
I wish everyone in the field lots of luck in their endeavors.
Oh, totally. And this year, I mean, it's even been raised more. I mean, the people that you've got coming this year, there's some pretty big names in the cryptozoology community. I mean, you got Ken Gearhart, right? He's a fantastic...
You know what's terrible? I'm not looking at a list, and I can't remember.
Oh, don't worry. Just trust me. I know what's... I got it down, because I'm a super nerd about this. Ken Gearhart, which has he's a Bigfoot guide, is really good. If you're into Bigfoot, you should read his guide. You pick up a copy at the festival. He'll probably have them. David Weatherly, I believe, was the other name, one of the other names.
Yes.
And then Steve Ward.
That I know.
Oh, man, Steve.
Oh, Steve. Oh, my gosh. He's a good friend to all of us, too.
This is a funny...
Like, Steve's quite the character.
When my buddy Andrew and I, one of our first years there, like, we just heard this guy talking, and it was just like, what is this guy talking about? And he's talking about like this and this and this. He's talking about Mothman. He's talking about high strangeness, and we're like, whoa, we gotta listen to this more. And we're like, hey, how's it going? And we ended up talking to Steve for like an hour, easy. And that guy is awesome. Like, and he goes out to the Mothman Festival. He's a big deal. Like, we had no idea.
Steve is
Yeah.
a wonderful, wonderful guy. I can't say that there's been anyone that we've had come and talk, or that does come and talk, or that will come and talk, I hope, that aren't great people. Great people.
Oh, yeah. So who's is it Jolena then that sets up most of those, or you guys kind of get together?
Oh, do we get together? we have done a lot of getting together over the years, but this year, we're doing it more by phone and computer. I'm the phone-in one.
Okay.
We might have one more that phones in. I can't remember, but the rest use computers. And it works out pretty good. Since we had to cancel last year's, we pretty much got everyone back from last year that we had planned.
Yep.
This was... We've lost maybe one or two, but this was going to be our 2019 festival, and it's going to end up, or 2020, I mean, and it's going to end up being the 2021 festival.
That's
and
awesome.
It is great. And we all have things that we have to line up, and by delegating, it works the very best rather than one person trying to set everything up. And we have several committee members that I have not mentioned. We have, I'm sure it'll come to me eventually. We have a former librarian, the one that just left Van Meter.
Okay. And
she was on our committee. Most librarians since Jolena left the library have been on our committee. And we have Matthew Bennett. That's who I was trying to think about. And Matthew's a great guy, and he's on the committee. So we all have jobs. Matt does this and that, and everyone does whatever it is they're supposed to do, and it works.
It works, and you would never. I mean, it works very smoothly. Oh, and also, I believe Nash is speaking. I want to say Zelia Edgar is speaking, and I'm sure there's others too, but those are the ones that come to mind.
She's wonderful too.
She seems like a very nice person. Yeah, she's got some great videos on YouTube.
Well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, great people.
Also, this year,
it's amazing how many people come back year after year, because I don't, we aren't a big, huge festival, but it is something where everyone's welcome, and it's fun, and we try and make it fun anyway, and we like the people, and maybe they come back because they like that they're liked at this festival,
It's like,
I think where you feel welcomed,
exactly,
and people really appreciate what you do, you return.
Exactly, 100%. It's got that, the Midwest is so welcoming. Some people don't know about how welcoming it is, and Van Meter's just got like that small town vibe, and the main street is, I mean, it's all very small, but everyone's very nice. And I mean, the one huge thing is the walking tour is very cool. I've always enjoyed that. You can kind of you walk around town. Chad leads the tour. You have the different stops, and then you get to go to somewhere really cool at the end. I won't give away the whole farm there, but it's very cool. This year, I mean, we signed up for the VIP tour. We had.
Oh, really? The nighttime one?
Yeah,
wonderful.
Friday is it's gonna be a good time. One of my buddies, Keith, was like, here you go, bud. Get some tickets. And I was like, that's awesome. Thank you, man. That
I have
VIP
to stop
tour.
you for a second. if I may.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
You talk about the VIP tour. I
Mm-hmm.
also have to give credit to Amy Skogerson Law Office.
Okay.
Amy has bent over backwards to always make sure we have the key for the law office where the
law office,
vault
yes,
is.
yes.
And she and Eric, her husband, support our festival in that way, and they are wonderful supporters of it, and we really appreciate everything they do. So shout out to Amy and Eric Skogerson.
Oh, totally. And like,
Okay.
I can't imagine, if they weren't so welcoming like that. I mean, the tour wouldn't be the same that it was without them allowing, all these people to come into their business. Like, yeah, it's really nice they do that. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
And they put
Very
an
nice.
awesome, they make it a very memorable experience. I really don't want to give away all the fun.
It's okay.
Also,
is there anyone still locked in the vault? Oh,
yeah, hopefully not. Hopefully not. Also, this year, it's usually a 1-day thing. Let's kind of paint the picture a little bit. So it's usually a Saturday deal, and it's usually about midday, and it goes up to like 7 or 8 p.m. this year. There's all sorts
8 o'clock. 8 o'clock.
Yep. There's tours.
It's going to be noon to 8 this year.
There's talks all day, and there's vendors, plenty of vendors, definitely. And it doesn't cost anything to get in, which is also very cool. But the day before, there's also the first documentary being released, correct? About the visitor?
Right. Well, I don't know if it's a documentary about the visitor. It is a movie that Josh Hurd and several others made. And I'm not going to give away a whole lot of anything, but
definitely.
It's a movie I'm looking forward to seeing.
Okay.
It ought to be quite interesting. And there will be a free will offering at the beginning.
Okay, cool. Yep.
If you feel like giving $1, you give $1. If you want to give us $1,000, that's all.
We're not going to stop you. We're not going to stop you.
That's right.
Yeah. But it's important to support the people that put their time and their heart into creating stuff. So that's a good idea that they're doing that in some way, kind of an old school offering there. But it's the thing about the Van Meter Visitor Festival is it's small, it's family-ish, and it feels like it's your hometown. But man, it's like each year it gets a little bit bigger. It feels like one of these years, it's just gonna explode. It's gonna be huge. I got a feeling one of these years it's just gonna be like, whoa, what happened? It's like someone's been talking about this. It's gonna be interesting. I think. I can't wait.
I do too. I think it's one of those small town festivals that's worth coming out to see if you're interested in any type of paranormal.
That's true.
Yeah, absolutely fascinating. And you get to talk to the people who wrote the books that you may have been reading. And you can buy books while you're there. And then there are other people that are the vendors, and there are all kinds of things to see and buy.
And I know a few people that are going to be vending there. I mean, there's vendors coming to this from all over. I mean, from some of them from pretty far, from what I've heard. I know my friend Lisa's coming out from Washington State. She's going to be selling her little plush Van Meter visitors and stuff, the Cryptic Comforts.
Wonderful.
Some really cool stuff. You'll love it because there's not many visitor themed merchandise.
Yes, I will.
But yeah,
yes, I will.
There's going to be some interesting people there for sure.
And be sure and look on top of the law office when you're out.
Oh yeah. That's one of the surprises. When I first I was walking down the road, my wife and I, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I was like, "That's amazing," because the other years it wasn't there, and then you're like, "Of course."
That's Eric.
It's so good.
Eric and Amy doing that. Yep.
It's those little touches where it's like
Hmm.
it's just very, very cool. Um,
Right.
there's a story that's in the book by Chad, and I want to get your thoughts on this. So someone who has lived in Van Meter for, you said 30 years? About 30
Okay.
years since the 90s, around there, right? Um,
Yeah, I moved here in '93,
oh,
so
okay, cool, cool. All right, very cool. So
that's almost, well, that's 28 years. Yeah.
it's crazy, yeah, man. Um,
Mhm. I'm beginning to feel old now.
yeah,
Wait a
all of
minute
us.
here.
Yeah, well, yikes. I guess you're only as old as you feel, right? That's the thing. Um, the
Let's
story
not get too carried away today.
the story he has in the book is that supposedly someone in the town, maybe somewhere, has a casting of the footprint of the visitor.
So
Have you heard about
go ahead.
this?
Oh, yes. And it's, like you said, it's in the book.
Right.
Was it White that made the plaster cast? Well, fiddlesticks. Anyway, here's the deal.
All right.
This is my thoughts on it. It has never been found to the best of anyone's knowledge. And if it ever has, well, they never said anything. And there are older homes here in Van Meter, but I would be willing to about bet that by now everyone who lives in an older home that might have been around then or was built
Mm-hmm.
shortly thereafter and might perchance have the plaster cast has probably gone through their attic and their basement and it no longer exists.
Well, and it's
If
like,
you want my honest opinion.
oh yeah, and the thing is like those casts only last for so long. You know,
Right.
that's the other thing. It
Because
could have
they
just disintegrated.
deteriorate as well.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but
Which is a shame.
wouldn't it be crazy if like, I don't know if you guys have yard sales and estate sales out there, but it's like you go to an estate sale in Van Meter one day and like some dude is like, "Oh, I've got this random footprint. It's huge." And you're like, oh, "That's
Yeah.
it. That's the
Yeah.
one." Because
Well,
one of,
Randy Meyer here in town
yeah,
makes mock-ups of it and
exactly. They're
does a
really
good
cool.
job. Randy Meyer is another great supporter of the festival. Great guy. Yep. We're very fortunate to have him as well.
How does so besides, let's say you've got the people that are like the inner circle where they love the legend, they love the festival, but how does like does the town itself, is it kind of like, yeah, we got this weird story, or like does the town in general get behind it, or what do you think the feeling is there?
We have great people in this town,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not sure. Some people support the festival, I'm sure, because they show up. But in general, maybe not so much. It isn't because they're not nice people necessarily. It's because that isn't their cup of tea.
And that's all right.
Yes, it is. And as long as we get to continue, and I will say that our city council allows us to block off a street or streets
True.
and use the fire hall. And so I would say that they are very good about that, and I really appreciate it. And that's why, that's why it is what it is. And everyone's entitled to like what they want to like or dislike what they want to dislike.
It's very important. Yeah.
And it's live and let live as far as I'm concerned.
Totally.
Yeah.
What
Like
is the best way for people, I want to make sure I get this in. So what is the best way for people to keep up to date with what's going on with the festival?
On Facebook.
Okay, that's like the one thing. It's like there's the Facebook group, and that's like the one way to keep up to date with what's going on, right?
It is, because we post things on it to keep people updated.
Exactly. Um, just curious. I know that. Have you heard recent stories around are there still stories around the area that are heard of the visitor, or is it something where like every now and then maybe there's a weird sighting, or it hasn't really happened since 1903? It's really been a while.
Every now and then, something big flying is sighted, usually at night. But I don't know anything about them seeing a horn in the middle of its forehead or anything, or a light on it. But sometimes they sight big, quote unquote, birds flying. Although I do have to be honest, there are owls that can have huge wingspans.
That is true. There can be huge owls.
Yeah.
Thankfully, not owls with huge horns.
That's right.
Out
and
of
I'm
their
very
heads.
thankful about that. That would be upsetting.
It would be bad news. Bad news. You know what I would love? I would love if there was a Van Meter visitor statue in the middle of Van Meter.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Like the Mothman statue. Could you imagine that, Portia? Oh my goodness.
I can imagine it, but I kind of think it wouldn't fly. In more ways than one.
It would be like there'd be a few town hall meetings we'd have to have in order to get that going.
A few wouldn't describe it.
Yeah,
okay?
I got you. Start the petitions. Yeah. Yeah. So I've got So there's a thing I do, and I have to do this with every interview, where I actually I have to ask certain questions. So I ask the same questions to each person to get what they're, and it's weird because different people interpret the questions different ways. So I'd like to answer.
Okay.
I'd like to ask you some of those questions. So number one, what do you wish more people asked you about?
Would they be, since I stay at home most of the time because of this COVID situation, would they be located in my living room?
I mean, it can be whatever you want. Or if you want to say past, that's cool too.
What do I wish more people would ask me about? Do you mean about the visitor or the visitor festival?
Could be anything, but if it's something about the visitor or the festival, that's cool too.
What day next year will the festival be, so we can come back again?
Totally. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see next year how. I'm sure it'll be even crazier. But I mean, who knows? It's definitely going places.
I definitely hope so, and I definitely feel we are. Okay. We try really hard to have the very best festival we can have. Kevin Nelson helps pick out a lot of our speakers and convince them to come.
Okay,
and Matthew Bennett was also good at that, and Kevin is quite the character. All the authors of the Visitor book and everyone I meet is quite the character. I love it.
That's awesome.
Visitors, quote unquote, are welcome.
There you go. There's a T-shirt. What are you most excited about right now? This could be anything.
I'm excited that we have a wonderful day, weather-wise, for our festival, and I'm excited that everything so far seems to be going okay.
It's turning out so far to be quite the day, and I'm excited. I got the days off of work. We're ready to go.
Well, pray for the weather.
Pray for the weather, exactly. So I usually ask the people I interview, let's say someone's getting into, Bigfoot or cryptozoology. Do you have, and this is assuming that you're into this stuff too, so I'm kind of going out on a limb here, but are there any books that you like or that you recommend about Bigfoot or cryptids or cryptozoology or anything weird like that?
I'm not into cryptids as much as I am Bigfoot, but sadly, I want to tell you, I have not read a Bigfoot book that I can remember. I watched, like Jay Bachochin's.
Oh, yeah, Finding Jay.
Yep. Yeah, and other people, and a lot of others. Oh, excuse me, I'm getting the hiccups.
Oh, you're good.
And a lot of other things on the computer, but I haven't. But I recommend Jay, anything Jay would write, I recommend it, Jay Bachochin.
He's a good dude.
Yeah, and other well-known Bigfoot investigators, and probably some of those that aren't as well-known, but I can't name names other than Jay right now.
Hey, that's all right. So
I'm sorry about that.
No problem.
I apologize to all writers of Bigfoot books, okay?
The good thing about having like people like Ken Gerhardt, you should definitely talk to Ken a little bit this fall because he's got that great Bigfoot book. You'd check it out, definitely. I'm going to pick up a copy.
That I will do too.
You've mentioned Bigfoot a few times, so I kind of want to make sure that. So I'm just curious, have you had any experience with Bigfoot or any encounters yourself?
I would rather not talk about it.
That's okay. That's all right. That's no problem, Portia.
Not on the radio.
I respect that. I respect that. Do you mind though if we talk about let's say someone says to you, Portia, what do you think Bigfoot is? What would you say to them?
I think Bigfoot is Bigfoot as described in many different descriptions, and personally, I think our best bet is to leave it the heck alone. It's not usually bothering anybody, and I don't see where we have the right to go out and hunt it with a gun ever, unless it has done, for a fact, some kind of horrible damage, like killing or maiming someone who was not harassing them, I don't think we need to uproot all of our creatures' habitats here on Earth. I
agree. I definitely agree. We should try to definitely focus on conservation. Yeah, big time. How would you? We'll keep it basic. What are your thoughts about the Mothman cryptid out in Point Pleasant?
I find it fascinating. I have read some, but not a book, about the Mothman, and I find that quite fascinating. But what are my thoughts on it? I don't know. I just, sorry to rain on someone's parade, but I don't know as much about the Mothman, even with the reading I've done. I wouldn't want to encounter the Mothman, if you want the truth of the matter, okay?
Sure.
I do believe it exists, but I don't know what it is, and I don't know why part of the time people see it. And it's like Bigfoot and everything else. Sometimes you see it, and most of the time you don't.
Do you remember there was the year of the festival where the guy came and he was wearing the shirt that said, "My Mothman can beat up your visitor"? I'm like, dude, what are you doing? It's really funny.
Quite the character.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Going on to another cryptid. Do you have any thoughts on the Dogman cryptid?
That isn't the one. It's not called Chupacabra.
No.
I don't know much of anything about the Dogman cryptid. I've read a little bit about it, but not much. I've got to be honest.
Yeah, it's usually it's kind of like if you imagine a werewolf, but that never turns into a human. Yeah, and
right.
They're usually pretty mean dudes, and you want to stay away from them. So hopefully we don't have a Van Meter Dogman in the future. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hope we never do.
Yeah, he can stay in Michigan and Kentucky for sure.
Yes, that's fine with me.
Regarding the visitor, would you consider that it was more of a friendly creature or maybe a not so friendly creature? How do you view the visitor itself?
I've got to be, once again, my favorite saying to you, I've got to be honest about this. I have thought about this quite a bit. I think it could have done a great deal of damage had it wanted to.
Oh my goodness, yes.
And I don't think it wanted to. What I honestly think is it was curious. It wanted to see what we were, what we did. It looked in windows. I mean, the silly sucker was a window peeker.
Exactly.
It was very curious, and you had people shooting at you and yelling and screaming.
Oh my goodness,
you're bound to get upset and think, "Wow, I don't want to come back to see them." Yeah, I wouldn't have come back to see anybody. I honestly don't think it was destructive or harmful unless backed into a corner.
Right.
And I think it found us to be very unfriendly creatures. Very unfriendly
Understandably
creatures.
so. I mean, like, one of my favorite parts of the story is when it's backed into the mine with its a smaller visitor friend, and pretty much we went all posse on the visitor and ran out or rode out on horseback with the enough guns to shoot down the Spanish Armada, is what the register said, and it's so amazing.
Thankfully, the Spanish Armada was not here.
Yeah, thankfully they lived to see another day, but. Oh man, I could just imagine it. Like the town people would be like, "Let's get him."
Oh, I know.
That's such a crazy story.
Well, I think back in those days, people were not as enlightened. Although I've got to be honest, I don't know how enlightened any of us are either.
Yeah, that's another story.
I think for them, if they didn't understand it, we shoot it.
Yep.
Too many people were that way. Not everyone, but too many were,
Sure. Yeah.
So, yeah. Now, I do have to tell you, I have two grandsons who are Alcott, or descendants of Alcott.
Oh, no way.
And the Dr. Alcott in the story is I'm trying to think if he's their great or great-great uncle.
Wow.
But here's the kicker.
Okay.
The Alcott family didn't know anything about this story.
No way.
Until, my son, who's married to an Alcott, discussed it with her uncle, or else, I'm pretty sure it was my son that did. And then I sent a book down to Arizona with my son to give to him. And he knew this. This is my daughter-in-law's uncle. He knew nothing about it. So this story was never used as we've got to tell our family about this, because the rest of Dr. Alcott's family that lived around Van Meter surely had to have known about it,
Sure.
You would think. But no, none of the information was handed down in that family.
I'm so glad you brought that. Like, that is such an interesting anecdote. But it really shows how important folklore is, and it's like these stories that get passed down, and like they don't all have festivals, they don't all have books written about them, and like
Mm-mm.
you got to keep the stories going. So folklore
Mm-hmm.
is so important with a community, especially a small community, where
Mm-hmm.
in a number of generations these smaller towns can disappear. It's crazy.
Yeah. And that's very sad
It is
because
sad. Yeah.
we've had so many small towns with good stories just flat out disappear.
Mm-hmm.
It happens in every state, and
It
it's a
does.
shame.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I agree
It's
with
a
you.
shame.
Do you have any stories you can remember? And this is a long shot question, but do you have any favorite like cryptid encounter stories, or a story where a person has like experienced a Bigfoot or a cryptid or anything weird like that? If you don't worry about it.
No,
Okay, no
not
sweat.
that I can think of right offhand, but I'm sure after I get off the phone, I'll think of
Oh,
something.
that's true. Yeah.
That's
That's
how
how it
it
works.
goes.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Do you have when if someone was to say, Portia, um, do you have any top evidence? What are your top evidence for Bigfoot existing? What would you tell them?
What is the top evidence? Well,
To you.
the weird thing is that most people who encounter Bigfoot talk about the smell.
Mm.
Not everyone talks about that, but a lot of people do. It's a rotten egg smell. And the fact that there are footprints found that there is no explanation for, but they're real, that aren't like ours, but they're huge. I think too many people have seen them, and too many reliable people. Let me put it that way. There are a bunch
Gotcha.
of kooks that make up stories too, but
Yeah. There's
there are
yep,
reliable
yep,
kooks
yeah. I
too.
gotcha.
Huh?
I gotcha. I gotcha. Have you ever heard any stories about Bigfoot in Iowa before?
Oh yeah, back in '79,
Um,
I believe it was '78 and '79.
Let me pause
Bigfoot
you.
was okay.
Do you mind sharing those? Is that something you can share with me later?
I can share that now or later.
Or like at the like after the interview portion? I think that might be a thing
Sure,
for us to talk about
sure.
then. Yeah, in the Patreon
That would
portion.
be
That'd be
great.
awesome. Very cool. Portia, I can't believe it. It's already almost been an hour. This is awesome. Um,
I know it went so smoothly.
I also wanted to point out the people at the Van Meter Visitor are so nice. I remember one year you go to get, I think you the main table when you're coming in, and they were giving out
Yep.
copies of old Fate. I think it was Fate magazine, or like a really old,
Yes.
like, what was the story behind that? That was incredible.
The lady who basically is in charge
Okay.
of Fate magazine
Yeah.
sends us, or at least she did before,
Okay.
old copies of Fate magazine that we can hand out because
Oh,
one
wow.
year she was there and she handed
Oh.
them out. And she
Wow.
is unable to come to the festival usually,
Okay.
and so she sends us a box of those to pass out to whoever we want to pass them out to.
And they're like brand new. They were brand new. I was like,
Oh yeah,
this is
they're not
crazy.
used.
Yeah.
They're just copies that were overruns,
That's
So
awesome.
yeah.
Last question. Has there ever been like people that have shown up that you were like really not expect? Like, I have a feeling that people are into the visitor that you wouldn't expect. And like, I don't know, has anyone ever showed up that you're like, oh, that's cool? Or like, I wasn't expecting to see you here. If not, like, I think that's going to happen eventually. Someone's going to show up.
Someone will, but I like to watch people.
Mm-hmm.
So I enjoyed being the one at the main table there.
Oh yeah, sure.
One of the ones at the main table handing out the leaflets on what was happening all day long, and the Fate magazine when we had it.
That's so nice.
Yeah, it is. And I saw all kinds of people. Sometimes I looked at people and I thought, you look so dignified and well-dressed.
Right.
You know, and not that people shouldn't be dignified and well-dressed. I appreciate people like that. I appreciate people who show up in khaki shorts and have cargo pockets and
Sure.
whatever the heck. I don't care how you're dressed, but it's just sometimes you look at people and you think kind of, you know, maybe you didn't expect that kind of person to come to your festival. But have we ever had any celebrities that I know of? Not right offhand that I know of.
Not yet. Maybe someday. But I mean, the
No,
cool thing is, like,
but when Tom Cruise shows up in his jet plane flying overhead, like
when who shows
Tom
up?
Cruise.
Tom Cruise. That's true. Yeah. I mean, it could happen. It could totally happen. But the cool thing about the festival is it is for everyone. If you're into high strangeness, if you're into like cryptids, if you're into ghosts, if you're into crystals, I mean, it's got something for everyone. So it doesn't matter who you are. Yeah. Check it out.
There's a lady there that sells rocks and crystals, and
I want to let's share the date. The date for this year. It's the last
Saturday in September, and I want to say the 26th, but I might be wrong.
I'm looking it up on Facebook right now. It is September 25th, 2021, and
25th.
Yep, September 25th. And definitely.
Well, I made it to 26th, and I was wrong.
Well, that's all right.
Now I'm off the committee. I'm pretty sure.
Oh no, we'll vote you back on. So, Facebook.com/Van Meter Visitor Festival, and I'll have the link to that in the show notes. You need to definitely like that page, and that's where you're going to get all the info. And I hope everyone listening to this will see you there at the festival this year. Let us know that you're coming. Send me a message on Instagram that you're coming. It's going to be awesome. But Portia, thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight and for talking all about the visitor and the festival in Iowa. And it's been a super, super fun time.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you asking me on the program.
Fantastic.
It's been fun.
Portia is going to hang out for a few more minutes for the Patreon section of the podcast. If you want to help support the podcast, it's $5 a month on patreon.com/Bigfoot Society. It sounds like she's got a few stories about Bigfoot in Iowa, which is pretty awesome because there's not too many that I've heard of. So again, thanks for listening, and thanks so much for coming on, Portia.
Well, thank you. Have a good evening.
Big thank you to Portia again for coming on and talking about the Van Meter Visitor and the festival. Hope to see some of you there this year. It's a good time. Remember, September 25th. Check it out. The link to the Facebook group they have will be in the show notes for this. Again, support your local cryptid festival. Do me a favor, pick up a sticker from my Etsy shop. It'll get me to the cryptid festivals coming out this year and more content for you. Thank the supporting members of the Bigfoot Society Patreon. We have Surfedes, Josh Suich from the Starfall Collective on Twitch, Greg Morrill from the Order 66 podcast, we have Coco Van Boxtel from Strange Little Lands, Daniel Fuller with Caveman Resale on eBay, Lauren from Nightcaller's Bigfoot Radio. And if you're not a Patreon member and you're just a listener, thanks for taking your time out of your busy day and spending some time with us. Go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Leave a review on iTunes, Stitcher, and your preferred podcast platform. And if you have any stories, you can give us an email at bigfootsociety@gmail.com. And again, check out the articles we have and more. Preferred book lists at bigfootsocietypodcast.com. You can always go to Instagram at Bigfoot Society. And we have a TikTok now. It gets pretty crazy there. Bigfoot.society at Bigfoot.society. One last thing, guys. We need to talk about the new Clubhouse app. It's currently in beta. It is an audio-only platform. I am currently setting up the cryptozoology community on Clubhouse. So if you have Clubhouse, look up my name, which is public and out there, Jeremiah Byron. And it's username at Bigfoot Society, and add me so that you can be in the Clubhouse Bigfoot Society room. That'll be happening every week at Wednesday night, 9:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. It's a great time. We've got a lot of people already in there. You're going to get hooked, so check it out. Also regarding Clubhouse, today, Sunday, May 9th, Clubhouse is now open to all Android users. So if you've been holding off because you're on Android, now is the time to download the app, get plugged into the community. We hang out every Wednesday night, 9:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, talk about cryptozoology. If you go to my Instagram profile at Bigfoot Society, it's in the link tree there about where to download the Android Clubhouse app. So go ahead, let's get going. The views and opinions expressed are those of the guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Bigfoot Society. Any content provided by our guests are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, individual, or anyone. Thank you.